From the PEN studios, this is the Imperfect Moms Club with your hosts, Lisa and Brittany.
On today's episode of Imperfect, we check in on back to school and discuss the hierarchy of needs.
It's September. It's the month of learning. You know, everyone's back to school now. And
yeah. So speaking of back to school, how were Clara and Molly's first weeks?
Yeah. So my back to school experience is always different from everyone else's because I'm at the school. So it's not like I send my kids on the bus or anything. So it's always a little different. But I can just say across the board, everyone's tired. Like everyone from kindergarten up to like the seniors are all tired because everyone still thinks that they can stay up till midnight and just like sleep until 9. Because no, it's not summer anymore. You have to like get up on time. So everyone's tired. You know, everyone's trying to get back on the school schedule. And like there's just no tired like the first week back to school tired because you're like, it's just busy. You know, everyone's, you know, trying to figure out how to do everything and get their schedules all worked out. And then you have Labor Day and you throw that in there. And it's like, just kidding. You're not going back to school on Monday. You're going to back on Tuesday, which I love it because it kind of like helps me ease into it. But I'm also like, this totally throws me off. So
yeah, it's so weird. Yeah, I used to think like when I was younger, I was like, wait, hold on. We just started and I already have a day off. Like what's going on?
So, yeah, like I don't feel like it's worth it. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. But Claire's doing really well. And this is her first year not being in my classroom. Oh. And so she's right down the hall from me. But I guess her first day, she'd look at her teacher and be like, I need to go see mommy. And she'd be like, no, it's okay. Let me give you a hug. And she'd be like, okay. And she'd like pull it together. Because I get to see her at recess. I see her at lunch and you know, we'll randomly go to the potty at the same time. So it's not like I don't get to see her, but yeah, it was her first time being away from me. And it was good. It was good. But Molly's in my room now. And so she's learning how to do school. And it's just, I love the age. So I have 4-year-olds and I have 5-year-olds and they're just so cute. And everything I do is almost everything is play-based or some sort of hands-on thing. But I also like want to get them ready for first grade. So they have to learn how to sit still just for like 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. And it's like so hard for them. Yeah. And I got this little girl and she just like gets up and wanders off and like goes and gets the pom-poms. And I'm like, no, honey, come back over here. Come on. They're just so cute. And every time like I leave my room and we go to recess or we go get a potty break or whatever, everyone's just like, oh, everywhere we go. And I love it. I love it so much.
Cuties.
They're so tiny and they have uniforms and they're just so cute because they're like the smallest little uniform you could ever think. And they're great because they put their backpacks on and all you see like from the back is just a backpack and like 2 little feet. Like you don't see anything else. And it's so cute. They're always so cute every year.
Oh my God. So Lily started preschool, part-time preschool. And so you were talking about the backpacks, like her backpack is like the size of her. And so like, it's just like, I can't believe she has a backpack and I can't believe she's a teacher now. And like, you know, so for me, it was rough. She goes Tuesday, Thursday. And so Tuesday was her first day. And that was rough because I can't walk her in. Everyone's like, they're all wearing a mask and like somebody just comes to take her out of my car. I mean, I get it, but I really wish that there was like some other way. Like they could have like had like an extra tiny room before you get into the school where parents can say bye real quick and then leave and then they can like sanitize or whatever they need to do. Anyway, I could like talk about that for hours, but whatever. So, you know, so I dropped her off. She's only been around me forever basically. So that was kind of weird. Like I couldn't help but think like, she's like, who are you? Why are you taking me away from my mother? You know, and it was worse because I couldn't even hug her because my husband was with me and he was the one who like took her out of her car seat and the teacher just like grabbed her and whisked her away. And so I'm like, so it was a little traumatic. Yeah. Like, you know, but then got her back and she, you know, I went to pick her up. It was only like 2.5 hours. So I went to pick her up and she was so excited. And then on Thursday, I found she had made like art in her class. And when I found it in her backpack, I can't even, like, I was not ready for the overwhelming feeling of like pride and like excitement, and like I'm like crying, like looking at, so they're both on my fridge now.
Yes.
So one of them, it was like she painted with Q-tips. And so she used blue paint. And so there's like a bunch of Q-tip little dots. And then the other one, I think they used like the dot markers. And so
yes. Oh, those are the best.
The dot marker one, actually, like you can kind of see there's like a rhyme and reason to the color she uses and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like she's going to be a little artist.
Art.
Yeah, she's going to be a little artist. So yeah, so she really loves it. She'll ask me, she's like, let's go to school. And I told her, so Thursday morning, I'm like, we're going to go to school. And she was like, teachers, friends, like she's really excited. And so I'm so excited. And then like the Thursday drop off was obviously way easier because I knew what to expect. And I don't know, it felt good. I was like, look at me, like I'm a preschooler mom now. And like I've, in the little line of cars and whatever, and I don't know, it was great. I'm really glad that she's doing something out of the house. And plus, like, it's good that she has some time away from me because she's so attached to me that it makes me kind of worried for when she is in school, like I don't want her to have a really hard time with separation anxiety. And so I'm glad that she gets this time to kind of be on her own and be her own thing and have her own friends. And, I don't need to constantly be there. I mean, I can, I can see her when she's done playing with her friends. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's good. It's good. Mostly good. It just was a little hard the first day,
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like even under like the best circumstance, it's hard. Even for the mom, like that's your baby and you've had them with you forever. And so then all of a sudden you're trusting somebody with your most precious thing in the entire world. And it's hard. It's even if you leave them with like grandma or grandpa or whoever, it's that first separation is always so hard, but
and like
it's also like super exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting, but like you can't prepare yourself for that. Cause I remember I was moving forward in line. I was like, okay, they're going to take her, whatever. But then I saw that teacher like bring her into the school and I kind of yelled. I was like, can I say bye to her real quick? And like, she didn't hear me. And so like, I'm just in my car and then I'm like, oh my God, like what the F? Like what just happened? Like I didn't expect to feel as angry as I felt, but I'm like driving back home and my husband's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'll be fine. Like, yeah, no, it's good. She definitely, that second drop off, the second day, it was a little hard to get her off of me. She wasn't crying like she was the first day. So it was good. Yeah. I think little by little, eventually we'll get to the point where she just like leaps out of my arms.
Yeah. But you won't even have to stop the car. You'll just like open the door and she'll just jump and then just keep going. You'll just keep driving.
Yeah. That drop off, honestly, like I felt like I was basically just throwing her out of my car anyway. But, I mean, obviously I understand restrictions are there for a reason and stuff. Anyway, that was first week of school. Yay. I can't believe that I have 2 little pieces of artwork on my fridge that she made when I wasn't there. And they labeled it. They said they were like Lillian Q-tip painting and Lillian, dot painting. And I just like, oh. And then they sent the parents a calendar of like what the themes are going to be. And like the theme for this month is bears. And the color of the month is blue and the shape of the month is circle. And I don't know, it's just like all so exciting for me. Like, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing.
It's so fun because they start learning and she's going to start talking about things that she'll learn at school. And like, she'll come home and she'll start saying things that like, you're like, where did you get that? Like, where did this come from? And they'll just be like little things she's picking up here and there. And it's just fun. I love that age. I like being like one of the first teachers that kids ever have because school is exciting and it's fun. And by the time they get to high school and they're with my husband, like they're just over it. So I like getting them first and getting them all hyped up for school.
I just like, it kind of made me think of like, I wish I could remember when it was me, when I was in like preschool and stuff like that. Cause it's fun. It's so fun. And like, I actually got to tour the school. So I saw her classroom and it's so cute. And I'm just like, man, like I wish I was back in preschool and I could do this too, like this is fun. And like the stuff she brings home, it kind of also gives me like ideas for stuff that we can do. Like the Q-tips, I would never thought to use Q-tips, but now I'm definitely going to buy some.
Yeah,
So,
it's so easy.
yeah.
It's just, you probably already have them like from Walmart or whatever, and then get some washable paint. Crayola makes some really great washable paint, and bam, there you go. You don't even have to have like good paper. You just give them like some newspaper or something, a paper bag. They'll paint that,
Yeah. So I'm excited that obviously school and friends and stuff, but also it's going to give me ideas of stuff to do at home. Because, she's learning there, but I'd also like her to learn stuff here at home because we're super into play-based stuff like you are. And so I'm like getting into all this stuff and like reading all about it. And I'm so excited.
I love play-based. Like I remember in college was when I really like everything like really hit home. Like, okay, play-based is like, it's the best way to do it, but there's a lot of thought that goes into it and da-da-da. And my teacher brought in a pack of Play-Doh, and we're all these like seniors in college, and she's like, okay guys, we're doing Play-Doh today. And we're like, what? This is great. And we all just like got to do Play-Doh, and there was a point to it, but we're like, can we keep this? And she's like, no, I need it for the next group. And I'm like, what? Like, I want to keep my Play-Doh. Like, you can't take my Play-Doh. It's just, it's so much more fun. If you involve them, like the more senses you can involve, the more they're going to remember the thing than if you just like talk to them. Like you just like talk it. You gotta do it. Do the thing.
I mean, I've always learned best by doing anyway. And so I think Lily's kind of like that too, because I'll have her help me with stuff around the house. Like she'll help me unload the dishwasher, for example. And while we're unloading the dishwasher, I'll ask her what the different utensils are. I mean, I didn't get that out of a book. I'm just like, hey, what is this? So I don't know. It's just, there's so many ways to learn. I really like finding the like fun alternative ways rather than just like cracking open a book. Because I was never into like the books. Honestly, I didn't do half the reading that I was supposed to because I was a bad kid. No, I was a goody, but like, I didn't like reading and stuff. For people that are listening, that listened to my last episode, I mentioned that I wasn't really a studier. And so that's definitely, I've always liked just do something and learn from what you're doing versus just reading it. Cause I won't remember. Like, I don't remember.
Yeah. I need to experience it in some way. I need to experience it. I need to see it or hear it or something. I'll learn it much faster if there's some other element to it than just listening to someone talk about it.
Yeah, like I never understood the people that could just read a textbook and then ace a test. Like I
hate them. I hate those people. I'm married to one of those people, and I'm like, how are you this way?
It's like, it's type A versus type B. So I'm like the most type B person you've ever met in your entire life. And I think that having cancer, like, I think that that's probably a big part of that too. But I am so type B, but all of my friends in college were type A. Like all of my best friends were like super type A and super studious and had all these notes and flashcards and stuff and reading. And I was like, they'd ask me like, oh, hey, like, did you read this? I'd be like, no, like I'm just gonna wing it. Yeah, like whatever. And I mean, I still did well. I still did okay. You don't have to like kill yourself. I mean, study however you want to study, but it just wasn't for me. I don't know. Sorry, Mom.
Somehow we made it to adulthood. So
yeah, no, I mean, somehow, I'm still alive at 31, so we're good.
Yeah.
So anyway, I wanted to end this segment just by saying that first week of school was super fun, and I can't wait to go back next week. Yeah, I'm sure your kids are excited too. Or maybe, is Clara still excited about school? Is she still?
Oh yeah, she's still excited. She loves her new teacher, Mrs. Crott. I love Mrs. Crott. I want to be in Mrs. Crott's room. Like her room and my room are so different. My room is crazy. Rainbows and cow print everywhere and just very like loud, like visually loud. And Mrs. Crott's room is like zen and neutrals. And it's like, there'll be like a boho rainbow on the wall and there's like cushions on the floor. And it's just like the opposite of my room. And I love it. I'm like, why didn't I do that this year? Maybe I'll do that next year. I flip-flop.
I would just fall asleep in her room.
It's so chill. And I'm like, oh my word, I love it. I love it in here. And I subbed in her room for a couple days this past week. And I was like, this is nice. But I also like my crazy room too. So I need best of both worlds. And I don't quite know how to make that happen, but
I love the pictures of your classroom. Like, it is the cutest thing I've ever seen. Like, it looks like something straight off of Pinterest.
yeah, it's like one day I'm going to take all of those things and I'm going to turn it into a book. I want to make a children's book so badly. And so I'm like, okay, I have all my little characters. I have all this cow print stuff. I'm like, how can I make this into a book? I don't know how, but we're going to make it happen one way or another. And I'll be famous and I'll be the famous cow lady. Like I have it all planned out.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Okay, so we are going to take a quick break, and then there's a cool article that I want to talk to you guys about. So be right back.
The Imperfect Moms Club is brought to you by
Look at that, huh? So they just magically showed up. I mean, literally, I just opened the door and they were there.
I ordered them, honey.
Oh.
We are very happy with our new Casper.
The Comfort is like a Lucius cloud, one of the softer clouds. But it's also a firm cloud, like a Aratio cloud. Always want to be a weatherman. Guess who I am?
It's the most exciting thing that's happened in our bedroom in a long time. A long time. Right?
I was on the fence about changing from a manual to an electric toothbrush, but my hygienist said going electric could lead to way cleaner teeth. She said get the one inspired by dentists, with the round brush head.
Go pro with Oral-B. Oral-B's gentle rounded brush head removes more plaque along the gum line for cleaner teeth and healthier gums. And unlike Sonicare, Oral-B is the first electric toothbrush brand accepted by the ADA for its effectiveness and safety.
What an amazing clean. I'll only use an Oral-B.
Oral-B. Brush like a pro.
This is the Imperfect Moms Club on PEN. Get in touch with the show through the PEN listener hotline at 833-PODS-NET. That's 833-763-7638. And now, back to the Imperfect Moms Club on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. So an article was recently shared with us, and I wanted to share it with you guys. It's from CNN. Honestly, I don't usually go to CNN for news or articles. I mean, really, I just stay away from the news in general these days, but this article is really interesting. So the article talks about a quote-unquote COVID slide now that kids are getting back into the classroom. According to this article, test scores are dropping everywhere, and it seems that children they didn't absorb as much from learning at home online due to the shutdowns. I'm not super surprised by this, but I didn't know it was causing such drops in test scores. The scores they're talking about here are MAP scores or measures of academic progress tests. These tests are developed by NWEA, which is a nonprofit organization formerly known as the Northwest Evaluation Association. These tests are most used in homeschooling to test students and place them relative to their peers in a grade, I guess how they do compared to people in school or whatever. But schools across the nation use them, usually giving them to students like 3 times a year just to kind of see like individual student progress, which seems like a neat idea. So here's what the data shows. So scores in reading in spring of 2021 were 3 to 6 percentile points lower than they had been in the fall of 2020. Scores in the fall of 2020 had been pretty much the same as previous years. Math scores dropped 8 to 12 percentile points during this time. The report this data comes from used scores from 5.5 million kids in grades 3 through 8. They took these MAP tests during the 2020-2021 school year. Quote, younger students in grades 3 to 5 were hit hardest, and poorer students and students of color were also disproportionately impacted, NWEA said, end quote. The article states that NWEA does not really go into the reason behind these dropping scores and instead leaves it up to the school districts themselves to go over their own data and formulate plans accordingly, which I think is good too, because I'd rather like the actual school districts and the teachers to make plans versus, some nonprofit organization that's never been to my school, Mm-hmm. So now it seems schools are trying to create a new baseline. So instead of being like, oh, well, we should have been here and we're just doing so bad, they're just going to create a new baseline for going forward. Public schools in Savannah, Chatham County, and Georgia, for example, are going to use these scores to try and tailor students' individual learning needs, which is great. Every student is different, so why not have learning geared toward their specific needs? So the plan in Georgia seems to be to close the gap. So rather than having students try and catch up to where they could have been, they just want to make sure that students can continue moving forward. And this is outlined in more detail in the article, and we can link that in the show notes, but you guys can check it out if you want. So anyway, I thought that was really interesting. So, I mean, you hear about COVID everywhere in the news, and I stay away from all that stuff because it's just too much. But I like that this article talks about the effects of COVID that aren't health related, like the effects of the shutdowns. These are things that I don't think a lot of people are thinking about. And so it's nice to see an article that isn't about people dying, but rather what our students are doing, what's happening to the learning and stuff.
Yeah. And it has to have affected like every student across the entire world. Like sometimes we get in our little bubble and we're like, we're thinking about just our students here in our own state or in America. And that's fine because that's where we live. That's how we think. But like literally the next generation, like there's going to be something different because of the past year. Like everyone across the board has had something happen to their education level. And I think it's great that they're not trying to necessarily make kids like speed and like run and try and catch up to where they would have been, because a lot of kids are just going to get completely left behind. They're not going to be able to do it. It's just not possible. And then instead they're just trying to like, okay, let's set a new baseline. Let's just set some new goals because this was like a huge deal.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. So, okay, let's just take a break. Let's reset. And I like how now they're reevaluating how we do education, because every kid does learn differently. And some kids did great with the online learning and some kids did not do great with online learning. And it just kind of like opened up different ways to teach and different ways to do education. And I think it's good that we're aware. I'm sure there's lots we're going to be learning for the next 10, 20 years about COVID and the way it's affected everything. But it's good just to start being aware of it and just like, okay, here's the problem. Let's identify it. What can we do to fix it?
This is really interesting to me. And I mean, it isn't surprising, right? Because, there's something to be said for like being there and being in school and being in class and actually like seeing it. Because I mean, I wouldn't, if I was stuck in front of a screen all day, like in school, like, no, like I wouldn't be interested at all. Like I wouldn't be engaged. I would be doing something else probably like while I was supposed to be. I don't know. It's different. It's kind of the same thing as like when you're hanging out with a friend, right? Like it's better hanging out in person versus, on a screen. Like, yeah, you can see them. Like I can see you right now, but it's not the same thing. Like I'm not, I'm engaged with you, but like, I feel like if I could see you and like, actually like, I don't know, like you're saying like experience it. Like experience you sounds weird, but like if I could experience you instead of just like watching you on a screen, I feel like that would be better. So, but that kind of led me to think about what can we do to kind of help at home? Because the school provides the school instruction, but then I feel like now, especially since scores are going down and stuff, there should be more of a push for parents to like supplement at home. Stuff. And I don't mean like go out and get a textbook, but I want to talk about like the different ways that we can. I mean, you're a teacher, so you could probably like teach us all a thing or two about teaching at home. So you can take the reins on this one. But, it kind of made me think like I'm definitely going to want to do more with Lily and, make sure that she's learning as much as she can at home so that she's better prepared when she goes to school and in school and stuff. So.
Yeah. It definitely like parents don't have to have an education degree to teach, like you don't have to have like a big textbook and a 4-year degree. Like a lot of it is just like, okay, well, what do you know how to do? Okay, I can teach them how to do that. I really wish that our education system like was a little different in the evaluation process, because not everybody tests the same. And like, I was a really bad test taker. Like I was a C and D student forever until my senior year of college, when I started doing like the classes, which were like based on like teaching and like going into the classroom building and like teachers would watch you and evaluate me and whatever. Then I started getting straight A's because I was actually like doing the thing that I really liked doing. And I was like, really? Like now I get A's, now I'm good at school. So I don't know what the answer is, but there's got to be a different way of evaluating kids, because I thought my entire life I was just stupid and dumb. And then find out right before I go to be like a real adult, they're like, actually, no, you like know how to do something. You know, showing them like, what do you already know how to do? Giving them like their basic life experiences and something that they're interested in, like just run with it, just go with it. Like Clara loves art, so I'm just gonna run with it right now. I'm like, all right, cool, let's just do all the art, let's do all the things, painting, drawing, all the different mediums. And Molly is just, she's still a little kid, so she likes doing her dollies. I'm like, cool, let's just do all the doll things, all the role playing, all the dress up. Like, yeah, let's go for it. You know, if you can play off of their interests, it's just so much easier than trying to force them to sit down and look at a book.
I've kind of been looking into like maybe homeschooling. I don't know. I never considered myself, like, I never thought that I'd be one of those parents that wants to homeschool their kids, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately. And I just, you know, I like being home with them. And this is, I mean, a small tangent, but so I've been taking ADHD medication and it's like the best thing ever. And so now versus before being a stay-at-home mom, I was like, oh, this is too hard, this is rough, whatever. Like now I can't imagine not staying home with them and not being with them all the time. And I can finally feel all those happy feelings that come with, you know, being stay-at-home mom, being mom, and, you know, all that stuff. So now I'm thinking about it more and I'm like, yeah, you know, I think I can do it. And I think I would want to. And so I've been, you know, thinking in my head, you know, they have curriculums and stuff, but then they also have like Montessori curriculums and they have more play-based learning things. There's one that's literally like, it's just literature based, but like while reading different stories, you're also learning like math and history and stuff. It's just books, you know, and she loves books. Lily loves books. And so I'm like, that would be cool. So anyway, it's got me thinking about all these different things. But yeah, play-based learning is definitely what I would do. I think is, you know, I want her to do things. I don't want her just to read things. I want her to like, you know,
yeah, be able to come up with her own ideas and come to her own conclusions. Yeah. Because like I can tell a kid 2 + 2 is 4 and I can say it 100 times, but it might not become like real to them unless I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, this kid likes cars, whatever. So I'm going to break out all the Matchbox cars and we're going to sit there and we're going to like play with them and like, okay, well, how many do you have in this pile? And let's do how many blues are over here and how many red ones over here. And like you involve them in something they love and you make them do it themselves and they figure it out. It becomes much more concrete in their head. And if you just say it, you know, I mean, hopefully they believe me because I should know what I'm talking about. But if you involve them in it, they're like, whoa, cool. Look what I just figured out, you know? And there's never been more resources for parents ever before than right now. Like you can find so many free resources online or even very inexpensive resources. Libraries, like the librarian I have is like amazing. I can go to her and say, hey, we're talking about construction, and she'll just drop me like 20 books. And I'm like, thank you, you're amazing. So it looks daunting and scary, but just break it down into little pieces and little bites and you could do it. Yeah.
Yeah, like Lily, her favorite thing to do is play with Mega Blocks. And so you can do so much with Mega Blocks. Like you can count them, you can say what colors they are, like all these things. So when she's building things, I'll have her tell me, hey, what color is this block? Or, you know, what color do we want to put next? And she'll tell me. So I'm like, she can recognize her colors. Like, you know, she can count. It's so wonderful to see that, like to see her actually learning like real concept. Because for me, like I learned all that crap when I was like in a classroom and somebody was telling me stuff, but she's learning all of this at her house. Like she's not even, you know, there was a worksheet that her preschool sent home with us kind of to tell us about our kid. And it was like, circle all the colors that your kid can recognize and circle the number your kid can count to. And like, yes or no, can they do this? Everything was yes. Like I circled up to 10. She can count up to like 20. I mean, not in the correct order, but, you know, she can say the numbers. All these colors, she knows them. And so I just kind of filled the paperwork and I was like, oh, look at this. Like my kid already. It's just neat. They pick stuff up. It's not, I don't know. And there's so many different types of smart. Like you don't have to be book smart to be a smart person. Like there's different kinds of, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, it kind of also goes along with my whole thing I was talking about last episode, where I don't want to put too much pressure on her, like studying and acing every test, because it isn't all about that, right? I was a terrible test taker too. Freaking hated tests. I never did well. I think, like, honestly, I think my brain just kind of like was stunned when I would like see the test. Anyway, so just, I don't know, just no pressure. Like, you know, you're learning, you're doing, and you're learning these things. And plus, like, life skills too. Like, I feel like if I did do homeschooling, what are things that adults need to know how to do that they like never know how to do?
They need to budget. How do you budget money and like live within your means? Because so many kids, like, okay, they walk in, they're like, yeah, I got these new sneakers. They're like $200 sneakers. I'm like, who cares? Like, in 3 months, those things are going to be out of style. They're going to be covered in mud. You just dropped $200 of your parents' dollars, not your dollars, on these sneakers. And I'm like, you know what? If you want to treat yourself every now and then, like, that's fine, whatever. But some of these kids, like, they think it's like the most important thing in the world is to have the latest shoe or the latest bag or whatever. And I'm like, no, because you're going to go and be an adult and you're going to have real bills, okay? And those $200 shoes, you can't eat those, you know? You can't heat your house with those unless you light them on fire. So
Yeah.
you need some real skills.
Oh man, I get so passionate about this because I've been reading a lot about it, and I don't know. There's so much out there about homeschooling. It's crazy. I don't know, like, homeschooling, it got a bad rap, I feel like.
Oh, it totally did, because like only like the weird families who had like 12 kids who were like really conservative, those were all the people who homeschooled. And now like a lot of people homeschool, and it's not like just the 18 kids and counting people who homeschool.
So like I don't know, like I guess I don't know if it was society or what, but I kind of like, it got a bad rap. So I just kind of assumed, I was like, oh yeah, like why would I homeschool? Like, but then I'm hearing, you know, and then another worry about homeschooling was, okay, like what if they don't socialize? What if they get to college and they don't know how to socialize like regular kids, but they have like co-ops and they have these, you know, moms will get together and they'll have like a field trip to some place with a bunch of kids, and these kids all get together and they socialize. They learn from each other. Like, I don't know. These kids will be fine.
Yeah. And you can do it for as long or as little as you want. If you get to like, I don't know, the 4th grade and you're like, okay, this is getting above, you know, where I am, then you could either bring in another person to help you homeschool, or you could send them to another school. I don't know about all of the schools, but I know that our schools, I always worked at a private school. We would work with parents and be like, hey, we only want her to come in for math and science and maybe play sports. And we would figure out a way to make that work so they could come in for those classes that mom and dad didn't quite feel like they could teach her. So a lot of times you can mish and mash and just kind of like make it work for you.
We're going to take another break. And when we get back, Brittany, you are going to talk about
Raising Curious Kids. And it's written by Nicholas Provenzano. And I might be saying that wrong. I'm sorry, but it's Raising Curious Kids. So I'm going to talk about that.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Imagine a world where potty training is fun, fast, and easy. Only pull-ups have Disney graphics that fade when wet to teach big kids to stay dry. So they're motivated to keep the music going.
I'm a big kid now.
Crest gum and sensitivity turns your ocean to
You like your drinks nice and cold, but the sensitive teeth thing is getting old. Time to say goodbye to the pain, because having sensitive teeth is just so lame.
Crest gum and sensitivity turns your ocean to
80% of sensitivity starts at the gum line. Treat it at the source with Crest Gum and Sensitivity. Crest. Healthy, beautiful smiles for life.
No matter what all the baby experts say, the perfect way to care for your baby is your own way. And that inspired our perfect diaper to be the softest ever with plant-based materials. Huggy Special Delivery.
Enjoying this show? Be sure to check out all the shows across the Podcast Entertainment Network, where there's a show for every interest. Visit www.podcastentertainment.com to browse through the full collection of shows. And now, back to the Imperfect Moms Club on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
Okay, well, welcome back. So now I'm going to talk about this book that I've been reading. And by reading, I mean, I've been listening to it on Audible because I'm a mom. And so I can't like sit down and read a book. The second you sit down, your kids need a snack or something. So anyway, I've been reading this book and it's called Raising Curious Kids. And it's written by Nicholas Provenzano. And it's available on Audible, and I'm pretty sure it was free. They have a selection of free books that you can get. And so that one was free, I think. And it's all about the science behind creativity and the different things that parents can do to support creativity and curiosity in their kids. And it's one of those easy listening books. I mean, I really love psychology, but if an author is going to start just like throwing all these really big terms and like theories at me that I've never heard of, I'm just going to get lost and I'm probably not going to finish your book. Yeah. But this one is like that. So he really breaks it down, which I love. There is one thing you're going to read about, which is called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And if you've taken any kind of psychology class, you've probably heard about that. But like I said, he breaks it down so it's really understandable. And it's going to sound scary when he first starts talking about it, but no, just hang on. Just hang on for the ride. So I'm going to do my best to break it down. But if you go on Google, you can look up this Maslow's, I cannot say his name, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm going to have to write it out. We'll have to post it somewhere so people can see what I'm saying because I can't say it. So anyway, it kind of looks like a pyramid and you can look it up on Google and there's like all these layers and they all build on it themselves. And everyone needs a really good base at the bottom layer before you can build up to like the next layer. So the first layer is called physiological needs. And that's like your basic human needs like water, air, shelter, sleep, clothing, like your very basic needs. Like everybody needs this, like everybody across the board. And the next level is safety needs. And that's like personal security, health, if you're an adult, a job or some sort of like personal responsibility, something like that, like your purpose, in life. And after that, your third layer is love and belonging. This is like friendships, family, a sense of connection. And this is huge. And it's something that literally every parent can give their kid. Like you might be stuck in a really bad financial situation, but you can always make your kid feel loved in some way, shape, or fashion. You might not be able to afford the most expensive education or the most expensive opportunities, but you can always give them some sort of human connection. So that one's huge. And when kids don't have that, things can go just like terribly wrong. I love listening to true crime on my own free time. And I can tell you like 85% of that is because something bad happened when Johnny was 7, like something happened where they didn't get those needs met. So after that, you have the next level, which is esteem, which is like respect or like self-esteem, self-recognition. And it's not bad where you think like, oh, they're super proud. Like you have those really proud, like snotty people like that. That's not what this is. It's the ability to look at yourself and realize your own strengths and weaknesses. And also able just to determine your own self-worth. Like you are worth something and we're all here for a reason and we all have a purpose. And I believe no one is a mistake. You were all created for some reason, some shape, form, or another. And we're all here. We all have worth. Everybody is worth something. Mm-hmm. And the very last one is self-actualization. That one's at the very top of the pyramid. And that's the desire to be the best version of yourself. Now, not everybody will get to the very top, especially if you see kids who like have a really hard home life or just are not given the resources that they need to succeed. A lot of kids won't reach to the very top, but that's the ultimate goal is to get to the very top. So you have to have all the layers to build on top of one another to get to the very top. And if one of the layers gets disrupted through life, you can kind of like go up and down. So say,
interesting.
Yeah, like say you've got a great home life. You got mom and dad, brother, sister, you're going to a great school. Everything's awesome. You're going up your layers. But then all of a sudden, like dad leaves or the family finances just like fall through the roof, and everything just kind of collapse. You can kind of start moving down a little bit. And that's where you can see kids having like regression and having some situational depression where it's not like depression where you just like have it all the time, like me. It's situational depression where it comes along when something's happening. But then you can build up those layers again. So it's kind of like Lego blocks. So as parents, we do the best that we can to build up those layers, but we can only go so far because after a while, like the kid has to realize themselves that they have self-worth and that, you know, they have their own responsibility in the world to go and do something. Like we can try and build up as much as we can, but then we have to like pass the baton. That was something in the book that I knew because I took education classes, but it was a really nice reminder and refresher. It's like, oh yeah, there's all these base layers. And they're really simple. So as long as you're meeting those, you are basically setting up your kids for success. So I wanted to share that, and I'll try and make a cute graphic for it for Instagram with all the layers and stuff. It's a really good book and you should read it.
I feel like kids are like curious by nature, and there's so many ways to give them these things that they need. I mean, we were just talking forever about homeschooling. Like you can give them everything they need at home, but obviously a lot of people prefer the structure of school, which is fine too. But what I mean is like kids are naturally curious and they're naturally like they love learning and they love all these things. I think earlier you mentioned all kids are different and we need to kind of be tailoring education at a specific kid. It's so strange because like before I became a mom, I didn't think about this, obviously, you know, and now I'm like, oh, well, you know, Lily and Holly are different. Like what if I put Lily in school and she's just not getting it and she's not doing well? And so I don't know. So I'm like, I can give her what she needs at home. She learns a lot on her own. She knows things. I'm like, how did you learn that? And it's not at school. Maybe this whole COVID shutdown, like maybe it's just the universe is trying to tell us that like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be putting so much stress on school and we should be finding fun alternatives and ways to kind of make things more fun for the kids.
Yeah. I don't know if I've talked about it here before or if I talked about it somewhere else. So America's never really been on the top of the education game. If you like line up all of the countries of the world, America's like 11th. I can't remember where it is exactly right now, but we're like not at the top. Like we're doing okay, but we're not like at the top.
Yeah.
At least the education system in America really started cracking down on kids was right during the space race between us and Russia. And we're like, we're going to get there first. No, we're going to get there first. And they were like, everyone was trying to get to the moon first and whatever. And they thought they were going to start dropping bombs on us from the space station and all this stuff. So America freaked out and they just started shoving all of this math and science and just pushing all this education down on the kids younger and younger and younger. So they were just like almost like compacting all of this stuff and just trying to like shove all their brains full of education because they're like, oh, we need to be smarter and better and faster. And some kids did do better with that because they just naturally learn better with lectures and reading, but majority of us don't.
Yeah.
So we all grew up thinking that we were stupid and dumb, and not that it's okay, but some teachers, like if they see that you're constantly getting D's and F's, they're going to start not giving you as much attention. They're going to start giving more attention to the kids who are succeeding. So all these kids are just falling by the wayside, thinking they're stupid and no one's helping them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not good. It's not good. So I love now that there's a little bit more of like an awakening, so to speak, of like more hands-on and making it fun and exciting for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of things you can do to really help your kids build that creativity and curiosity and just like build off of what is already there. So open-ended toys like Legos and blocks and dolls and Play-Doh, stuff that doesn't have an end goal, so to speak. Board games have their place. Those are fine, but giving them open-ended toys where they can like make up their own game, like those are just the best. And then if anyone listening has an older kid, I'd say maybe like 3rd grade and up, there's this program online and it's called the Scratch program. So you go to www.scratch.mit.edu and it's a kids coding website and it's free. And I messed around with it a little bit with Clara and she's only 6 and she could do it if I sat with her because you have to like be able to read and like click the buttons and know what they do. But you can like make animations, you can draw a picture and like upload it and you can make it like dance around and do stuff. You can make your own game. Like people are making little like almost Super Mario Brother type games where the little thing would hop around on blocks. And yeah, and so they have all the coding blocks right there and it's very user friendly. And you just like move them around and you make the little character do stuff. And it's really community based where you can, once you finish your project, your video game or your movie or whatever, you upload it and people watch it or they mess with it and they play with it and they're like, hey, that's really cool, but what if the character could do this? Or what if the character could do that? And then you can go back and fix it. Or you can make it open where everyone can come in and like submit their own work and build this thing together. And it's a really great community. It's awesome. I kind of want to see if we can get some of our school kids to do it, because we just got brand new computers at our school. But yeah, it's scratch.mit.edu, and you should check it out because it's free and it's great. I loved it. I might go play with it later. So.
Yeah, and see, and that's like another way of like kids are learning and they're having fun at the same time. Here in Texas, I think it's a Texas thing. We have something called STAR testing, and it makes me so mad. Like, I mean, I'm sorry to the people that are like all about this test, but like it makes me so, basically during the school year, you're learning how to take this test at the end of the year.
Oh, I hate
And like,
that.
that's all you're doing is just learning how to take a test, and then you take a test, and then the next year it's the same thing. And I'm like, but like, what? Like, that's it? Like, they're not learning anything else? Like, I mean, I don't, it's just like, it drives me kind of nuts. Like, when I think about it, like, I'm just like, shit. Because, I mean, I don't know, like, you know, then people are going to get in college and what? Like, all of a sudden there's these brand new ideas and stuff. And they're like, well, this wasn't on the test. I mean, obviously, like, doctors go to med school, but in my more angry moments about the STAR test, I'm like, I can't imagine like going to a doctor later and like their whole school career was just taking tests and like learning how to take the test, and that's it. And they're going to perform surgery on me. But I mean, I'm sure everyone's very smart, right? I'm not saying you're dumb, your child's dumb because they took this test. I'm just saying like, it's not how I would have done things. I would have, you know, voted no if I was in charge of voting on whether to give our kids tests or whatever. I would have voted no on that, because I think that there's more than just tests. Like, there's more to learning and there's more to life than just taking a test.
Yeah, it's not just memorizing and spitting information back out. Where's the critical thinking? Because real life isn't in a textbook. I need to know how to live life and how to do my finances and how to just be a good citizen when things don't go by the textbook. There was no textbook for COVID. Like we all had to kind of like learn on the fly. So we need the skills to be able to evaluate the situation, figure out what some options are, try the options. Okay, evaluate. Did that work? Okay, no, let's try something else. Because if you just live by the book, so to speak, you're going to get stuck because the book doesn't cover everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah, and it's the critical thinking especially. You can kind of see now, like, I don't want to get into like a talk about like what's happening in the world or anything, but yeah, critical thinking is an important thing to know how to do. So that's all I'll say about that.
The creative side. My husband gets sometimes he gets annoyed with me because he's very incredibly logical and just like, this is how things are, whatever. And I'm like all over the place. And like, I'm shooting out all these ideas. I'm like, hey, let's try this. Why don't we try this? I'm always brainstorming stuff. And yes, I know that the majority of my ideas are not going to fly. Like, I know they're a little out there and a little crazy, but every now and then an idea sticks and he'll be like, you know what? That was good. I would have never thought of that. And I'm like, yeah, see? So I know I just told you 20 other things and you thought I was crazy, but I had to get those out before I could get to this idea.
Yeah.
So, so we just pair very well because he's very logical and I need that part too in my life. But then I'm also very creative and free flowing spirit and he needs that in his life too. So
yeah, same here, man. That's what's so exciting about, like, I'm definitely more creative. And so like the thought of homeschooling Lily gets more and more exciting the more I think about it. Cause I'm like, yes, like I can be creative and I can think of all these activities and do all these things. My creative side can like show. I don't know. Because I mean, you're a teacher, so you get to use your.
Oh, I love it. I love going off the textbook. I'll read the book and I'm like, okay, so basically they're supposed to know X, Y, and Z, but we're not doing it this way. We're going to do it this way.
Yeah.
Like, trying to make it more fun and more hands-on. And yeah, we'll do a worksheet every now and then just because we need like an academic record of what you know. Like, okay, fine. But we're going to go in the kitchen and we're going to measure stuff and make an apple pie instead of doing the little paper worksheet. Like, we're actually going to do the thing and just more memorable, more fun. And also we get pie at the end. So everyone wins.
Who doesn't love pie? I mean, really.
Yeah, everyone loves pie. Yeah. So anyway, let's make September a September to remember. So pick one of the things that we talked about in this podcast and try it out with your kids and then tell us how it went. And you can email us or you can call us and leave us a voice memo. And don't be scared of leaving a voice memo. You can leave it anonymously. It's all cool. And we can play it on our show, or you can just write an email and we will share it on the show. And we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you for listening.
Bye. See you next week. Bye.
Want to get in touch with the show? Email us at imperfect@podcastentertainment.com. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Imperfect Moms Club.